or more. In 2019, India shot up to third place after China and the US, with 7 completions over 200 meters. The Council of Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, that is CTBUH, noted that there are several more under construction in the country that are yet to meet its completion criteria. But elevators or lifts are a key success factor for these high-rise buildings. Today, on this note, you are going to witness an engaging interactive session on high-rise elevators. Apart from having discussion on the latest developments and latest advancements in elevator technologies, leading elevator manufacturers and architects will talk on why elevators are crucial element in the efficient operation of a high-rise building. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers. We have with us architect Rajendra Kumar, Director of School of Architecture, Noida International University. Welcome, sir. Architect Deepak Mehta, Principal Architect at Deepak Mehta Architects. Mr. Stephen D'Souza, Regional Director for West India at Otis. Rajesh Bashant Baiwar, Director for New Equipment Business Operations for Kone India. And Mr. Raj Iyer, National Sales Head for Large Projects and High Rise at Schindler. So delegates, get ready to witness a high voltage session on high rise elevators. To take this session forward, I would like to invite architect Rajendra Kumar. Rajendra is a practicing architect based in New Delhi and is the director of School of Architecture, Noida International University, Greater Noida. He is a member of CTBUH USA. He has recently been recognized as Global Education Influencer 2020. Congrats, Rajendra. Today he is going to discuss about the changing trends in vertical transportation. So let's welcome architect Rajendra Kumar.
My master thesis was also on tallest building of the world, which was a 1228 meter high building in Shanghai. My first, that was around 20 years back. When you mentioned a very right the word, about this, the lift are the key factor for a sky rise. We should not, we should remember that after the invention of lift, it was only possible of high rise. Skyscraper. High rise is a very subjective word, by the way. As per Council of Building, as per CTBUH norm, the building of Delhi high rise may not be the high rise of Manhattan context. So it's a very contextual word. But having said that, when we talk about the importance of lift, it's a vertical transportation. Because of the lift, I believe that there is a lot of new thought is also involved that, the building can go, any building which we are talking of, whether be it Burj Khalifa or whether be it Saudi Tower or whatever, the taller are going only, it is because there are continuous innovation in the lifts are happening. When I'm saying lift, I'm talking about any mode of vertical transportation. So all those, tallest, highest, longest, or whatever EST, what we say, that it is only because of the lift. And what I personally feel that there is, though the global is rapid, globally it is very rapidly moving, but when we talk about Indian context, the speed is not matching up with the globe. Especially talking about skyscrapers. We had been involved in a couple of buildings which are like maybe the building of 100 meter or 150 meter, and it's so difficult to find a consultant who are expert in that scale of project. And there are new words which are like a machineless lift or this energy efficient lift. These things are there, but still, when we talk about the lift, like magnetic lift, because if you mention about China, China, there are a lot of new innovations are there. I believe that we have somebody from Schindler also. I would love to hear them what they are saying is that. So one thing is that this innovation is required. The other point, what I also wanted to mention that, please understand the lift is a continuous source of energy because of the pulley. Because of the pulley which is there. lift has been taken in a very only in a very isolation manner as only as a vertical transportation. I mean, a services for vertical transportation also. But the thing is that it has not been integrated in terms of a multi-use of lift for renewable energy generation also. There have been a couple of cases in a buildings like in Holland and all that. I mean, the lift has also becoming the part of energy generation. I mean, we are talking of future with the net zero energy building. So in net zero energy building, the lift can also play an important role for energy generation. That is the things which is not yet has been explored, at least in this part of the world. I'm talking about India. There are immense possibility of that. Also about the when we talk about lift, I mean there is a I mean, we talk about, when we say about solar energy, with the solar energy, I mean, we have seen the example of Cochin Airport. I mean, the whole airport was, I mean, it is solar dependent infrastructure. But on a very less scale, the dependency of lift energy on solar is also not explored yet. That also the part which we can think about it. Uh, as rightly said, of course, in a country like India, where there is always a shortage, or you can say uncertainty about power, be it power. I mean, I'm talking about power failure. Recently, last week, I believe that there was a big mega failure of power in Mumbai. I believe that. So in that case, our lifts are not very well designed for a longer duration. So that's, I mean, in nutshell, I would like to say that there is and lift should be also taken into consideration as an alternative for renewable energy, especially in the context of net zero energy building. And the second part, what I would really like to have that, we should also think about, I mean, more and more research on this vertical transportation. You mentioned about Council of Tall Building and Urban Habitat. To surprise to us that Council of Tall Building of Urban Habitat has a very less member from India. There are few member, I mean, bit and pieces are there. The conferences of Council of Tall Building and Urban Habitat happen all over world. But in Mumbai, I mean, I'm talking about mega conferences, happened almost 10 years back, not before. I mean, so although when we talk about India, India is the second country after China to have more and more skyscraper and tall building, but still this R&D part is very much missing when we talk about vertical transportation. As an academician, I can offer myself also that since I am involved in vertical buildings as a practice also, and also on a research front also, I would really like to extend invitation to all the industry player if they would like to tie up with the university or with us for any kind of a research oriented initiative. I would really more than happy to welcome you. So that's what I have to say in my opening remark. We will take it forward. Thank you so much.
So now I'd like to invite architect Deepak Mehta. Architect Mehta is the principal architect at Deepak Mehta Architects, a premier architectural firm based out in Mumbai. Architect Mehta, after his graduation, worked with renowned architect Hafiz Contractor as an associate architect and has grown steadily over the years. Today, his firm has spread its wings in more than 12 cities of India and overseas in Dubai. Today, Architect Mehta is going to talk about elevator planning for high-rise buildings. So let's welcome Architect Deepak Mehta.
For high rise, especially in Mumbai, we have been completed projects of around more than around 50 floors or plus. Now to design a high rise building, with especially the lift, we can say elevator, a perfect word, is the existing of high rise, I can say, is because of the elevators and not vice versa. If elevators are good, the whole design of an high rise is otherwise questionable. Like, as we were doing some projects here, the very important factor came about traffic analysis, how it can be done, especially for the type of a building. It can be a mixed use, it can be a residential building, it can be anything, Uh, Traffic analysis makes a lot of, study support, especially for all this type of things. Mixed use building is very important where we can have the building population attending the lift, moving around, the time schedules depend upon it. Also, the passenger arrival patterns, which makes a lot of, this is all I'm talking about, a practical design required by an architect, to design a high-rise building, especially keeping the lifts and elevators into the mind. Passenger arrival pattern, building usage, as I told you, office building, residential buildings, mixed use buildings, shopping malls, it makes a lot of difference and different style of patterns are there. Car parking, as we all may be knowing in mega cities, the level of car parking is increasing day by day. 10 floors, 15 floors, here we have designed car park, I can tell you around 5-6 floors going upwards and another 5-6 floors going downwards, into the basement. So here the type of lift to be used, which is not hampering the traffic of the regular usage of the occupants, makes a lot of difference. We have installed a project in Mumbai which has a robotic car parking. There again, the lift pattern is totally different, So my point is, the usage of a building, the type makes a lot of difference in architect, to be principally involved in all kind of designs. Now, location of special floors, like meeting floors are there, then there are entertainment floors, then there are restaurants in different type of buildings, like in residential buildings, we have a lounge, we have a sky lounges, we have a lobbies, where people come and meet and all this, because the whole city becomes a vertical, by itself. So the design of an elevator core, the zone, I can call it, makes a lot of difference, lot of importance for an architect. New technology, the new style of the elevators. Nowadays, we have come, I don't know if it's installed in India or not, it is called divide the lift into 2 zones, many zones. Then very important is a double-decker lift. The both lifts comes and and each floor it's standing over there to reduce the traffic. So it's a double-decker lift. So all these things, there will be a new innovations to come over here. Very important is, I think, architect Rajendra has put up is, how to take advantage of this lift movement to convert into generate energies, like, we can talk about the hydro energy is created or something else like this way also we can try and we can, implement some kind of this innovations into it. Very important, is the identifying the number and speed capacity, of the elevators, specific group, the type, and the speed. High-rise building speed is the biggest factor, we have to look at it. We have designed the buildings that people are waiting in the queue in the morning hours or evening hours, in the peak hours. So looking at that, the zoning of the lift, the dividing the lift into different floors, and the user-wise the lift change. The point is, we need to look at an architect perspective and availability of a technology in India as of now, what can be thought of it and what can be designed for a practical solution of the users as well as, the main building types. So looking at it, with my practical experience, an architect is a very important playing role in such type of, design of an elevators for high rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite Mr. Stephen D'Souza. Stephen is from Otis. He joined Otis over 30 years ago as a service mechanic and has held several positions, including operations director and heading the service vertical for Otis India. He last served as the regional director for North India. Today, Stephen is the regional director for West India. As a professional, he's very detail oriented, has in-depth technical knowledge, and views everything from multiple perspectives. Today, Stephen is going to enlighten us on high-rise elevators, the challenges and solutions. So, delegates, let's welcome Mr. Stephen D'Souza.
The story begins with one man, Elisha Otis, who invented a safe passenger elevator in 1852, launching an entire industry, paving the way for the modern vertical cities across the globe. With 167 years of innovation, transporting 2 billion people every day, Otis remains the largest transporting company in the world, spread across 200 countries. Through the years of innovation and constant reimagining, elevator system has tremendously evolved from single speed to high speed gearless, from small car to double deck. We have moved to super double deck, from call buttons to calling, cell phone calling, and from local to remote access. Over the years, Otis has chosen to elevate world's prestigious buildings. Architects, developers, customers, technocrats had confidence in the technology, people, process of Otis to partner in these iconic high-rise buildings. Now, I will be highlighting few of the technological solutions that we adopt in high-rise buildings. High-rise buildings needs a solution to effectively manage passenger traffic. Developers, architects, they are interested in saving space and speedy construction. While the passengers expect a safe and smooth ride with minimum wait time. With combination of advanced technology in hardware and software, this can be taken care of. Otis has two products that helps in this regard. One is SkyRise and one is SkyBuild. Otis SkyRise system, designed for the world's tallest buildings, uses the SkyMotion machine with Regen VF drive, among the most energy efficient. Further, sound isolated car caps, ultra roller guides, sophisticated control system with integrated safety devices ensure safe, smooth, and quiet elevator travel. Double deck elevators are also used for high-rise buildings. As you see in the animation, we use double deck elevators where the floor heights are not equal. Now we come to SkyBuild elevator. This is installing an elevator as the building is being installed. So the elevator moves up. Installation team as well as the materials get where they need to be quickly and safely without a crane, without an external lift. SkyBuild's unique hydraulic piston system enables it to climb one floor at a time as the building rises. Once the construction is complete, SkyBuild is converted as a SkyRise elevator for the normal use. The number one opportunity to improve the passenger experience is to reduce the wait time, while still providing a safe and seamless ride. We are taking care of this with the Compass 360 grouping solution. With conventional dispatch, any passenger can get in elevator and go to their floor. In this case, destination is unknown in advance, and there are frequent stops, reducing a higher increasing the wait time. While in dispatch system, you will see users tell the system well in advance which place they like to go, which floor they want to go. And elevator system uses this data with smart technology and assigns passengers traveling the nearby floors in a same elevator. In other words, in conventional dispatching, the passenger selects the elevator. In Compass, elevator selects the passenger. This minimizes number of stops per trip, car crowding, and passenger wait time. The Compass system also offers customization and control, including interfacing with building's security system and access control for a seamless entry. We also have a screen graphic designs which can be suiting to the requirement. The supergroup system. This is an augmentation to the Compass destination system, which automatically adapts to the traffic, borrowing from the less elevator group to the high demanding bank of elevators. The intelligent elevator system uses few elevators that are defined as supergroup, and they act like a bridge between low and high rise group as they needed. This innovation dispatching technology enables dynamic elevator group sizing and balancing cars between the groups as they needed. With this, we can also eliminate the transport floor which is required in the high-rise, most of the high-rise elevator buildings. High-rise buildings obviously have a lot of traffic. With the ongoing pandemic, we aim to keep people moving efficiently and safely. And for us to be able to do that, we are turning to technology. At Otis, we are already in the midst of a digital transformation. From my perspective, touchless technology are the especially attractive options in the current environment. One of the examples, we use Bluetooth to enable our elevator calls. We are having a Bluetooth enabled Otis eCall app. This app enables a passenger to use their cell phones as their personal elevator call button. And they can call an eCall equipped elevator from a distance without accessing the elevator call buttons. We have also built a powerful digital ecosystem that allows to manage maintenance history and other data in real time. For our field professionals, this information is tied to a smartphone. Most of our Otis field professionals now use smartphones loaded with custom apps to help them perform their job more efficiently. Their digital tools help employees to diagnose and fix issues faster than before. With Otis One, we are harnessing the power of data analytics, machine learning from the sensors, and cloud computing to predict and prevent shutdowns. With this, we can analyze trends of our hundreds of thousands of connected elevators to create an advanced algorithm that can predict performance trends now instead of the customers having to call us. In today's world, every architect, developer strives to make their building unique. Elevators are always customized to meet their unique demands. Collaboration at the early stage by developers, architects, elevator consultants, and elevator companies ensures a successful of the project. It's a teamwork, and that's the future.
So now let's welcome, we'd like to welcome Mr. Rajesh Basant Baba of Kone, India. Rajesh is responsible for new equipment business operations for Kone in India. As Director NEB managing frontline business opportunities for Kone in India and SAARC, he has been head of major projects in India for Kone, which mainly encompasses high-rise and infra business. Rajesh will discuss on how technology is making it practical to build skyscrapers far taller than even today's highest. Welcome, Rajesh.
And to begin with, our architect, Mr. Rajendra Kumar has mentioned that in India, we do not have much of a high rise. And in Delhi, above 100 meter is not finding consultant. But with that, let me start that at Kone, we got an opportunity to deal with 250 to 300 meters building heights in Mumbai. So there are expertise available in India. And Mr. Rajendra Kumar, thank you very much for the suggestion that about solar and renewable energy development. This is the area which needs to be explored. So with that note, and Mr. Architect Deepak Mehta also talked about TrafCal, and my colleague also explained more about trafficking. So I'll not touch those subjects because Mr. D'Souza already explained. I'll just elaborate something on what is cutting edge happening in the elevator field, latest today and the future. So this is something about Kone. We are as big as anybody, and we are the biggest in new equipment business as of date worldwide. So I'll not elaborate much on global what is happening, but India, we have got a solid presence, and we boast that we have got South Asia's largest manufacturing facility in Chennai. So coming to the topic today, first is about what is cutting edge happening in the elevators. So basically, when the question was given by organizers to me, what is happening in technology, I'll read it out, to practically build skyscraper far taller than even today's highest. So first point I will cover, the today's highest, the major constraint is your rope weight. Because if your building goes beyond 500, 600, 700 meters, then rope weight becomes a constraint. So we at Kone thought on this line, and we have come out with our latest development of our R&D, which is ultra rope. So this is the Kone innovated and patented technology, which enables you to have a 2 times light time. And with this rope, we can go beyond 1 kilometer building also. So there is one building which is being made in Jeddah Tower, where Kone is supplying elevator, which is 1 kilometer tall, but the technology is available today with us, which can go beyond 1 kilometer also. And apart from that, there is a 60% reduction in moving mass, which is giving 15% less energy consumption compared to conventional systems. So this is the one innovation. Though in Mumbai, this will still, or in India, this will not still be viable, because to get a right advantage, you have to build building beyond 500 meters. So we are still hoping that our developer friends muster their guts and investment, though today's circumstances are not permitting enough, but the technology is available. Apart from this, I would like you to have a look at this particular technology. We call it a jump lift, which gives an enormous advantage to constructor and developer for high-rise building, so that along with the building, you can start building your lift can start moving along with the building. You don't have to wait for shaft to get completely ready. So this is the innovative technology in Australia, Singapore, and US being used extensively. India, we could not find so far, because India, the project cycle time for high-rise building has been so far 4 to 6 years. Whereas in a developed country, you have an enormous pressure to complete building for 1 and 2 years. Now what happens here is, in this technology, you have to construct a shaft till 20 meters, or you can say up to 4 floors. After that, we install this particular lift, and the lift starts jumping every 10 floors after, and it can go along with 100-story or 150-story building. So as building moves, shaft will move, and it will give you 3 advantages. You will reduce on your time, because you can use this elevator for your labor transfer, which we are using today, non-traction elevators, which are outside the building shaft, exposed to environment, safety concerns. So you can completely eliminate that. You can reduce time. This is a weatherproof, safety is ensured, and the total project lifecycle cost also is saved in this particular technology. Then third aspect is about design. My more able colleague, Mr. Deepak Mehta, talked about TrafCal, but here we can extend our humble support with our innovations in people flow intelligence system. We have this key consideration, as we already explained, crowding management measures, crowd reduction measures, and limiting movement within the building. And the here key is the design, how you design building, how you plan your total layout. And here we have got our own people flow consulting system. We can support architect in designing and using the latest technologies. We call it as a destination control. Our colleague, Mr. D'Souza, showed Compass. my other able colleague Schindler, they have got a Myconic system. So all these technologies can be used, but the most important part is planning and how we can make an efficient use of the system with this entry planning. So with this, and now with this pandemic, most important has become a safety. How you design people flow system, taking care of safety and social distancing of your incumbents. And that as a holistic strategy, we can offer people flow intelligence support. And it can come for office building separately and residential flow separately. As office building total dynamics is different, but this is definitely possible. And this is all available in India. The next one, this 24/7 connected services, which we launched, wherein all elevators will be connected and we'll be monitoring 200 parameters of elevators. And this is, I'm not telling something what is happening in Europe, this is in India. And I'm very proud to say that the Center of Excellence for this technology is in India. We have two R&D centers, Chennai and Pune. They are supporting complete globe for this support technology of 24/7 connected services. We have taken a cloud expertise from IBM with Watson. And this is, we have got an excellent response from our Indian customers. And for high rise, it is absolutely important if something happens or before something happens, rather it's predictive. Even before something happens, my technicians will know and he can fix up before even you realize that problem is about to come. And this technology has been launched by Kone last year. And every month we are getting enormous orders on this technology. Thank you to all our customers. And this definitely will help in the safe journey of high-rise equipment. So these are some key features, and so this is some glimpse of the future, what is coming with Kone. So elevator will not remain elevator in isolated mechanical box here. It will get integrated with intelligent and smart building. We will have all these specific technologies which I talked about, 24/7 connected services, residential flow, even building management system. Our elevator will be ready with application programming interface, and it can be connected. Either we can take care of cloud responsibility, or if building management is totally sound and they have got all the capabilities, our elevator can form a slave and can support them. We also got a various partner technology with co-creation, like there are 7-8 partners we have available in India who can support you in access controls and other aspects, even e-call, remote call, whatever technologies you say for touchless. And then we can come to you, come to our elite customers of high-rise building as a comprehensive digital future-proof AI and machine learning solution. So this is the future. We are just entering into it. And I'm very excited that it will be developed for high-rise building, which has a very solid future.
Rajesh, around 22 years of work experience across various industries like automotive, manufacturing, and building material and construction. He joined Schindler in 2011 as the sales manager and later on as the head of operations at Bangalore and Mumbai. Currently, Raj is the national sales head for large projects and high-rise. Raj is going to talk about how artificial intelligence and Internet of Things are making high-rise elevators smarter. So welcome, Raj. It's your turn now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Roy. Like you said, I was waiting for my turn anyway. So let me just begin welcoming all esteemed panelists here and the esteemed customers who are on the call. It's really a privilege and honor to be on this call. And let me also take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy Navratra, Durga and Dashera, which is coming up. With this note, I would like to talk about that subject which has been given to us, how IoT and artificial intelligence will make the elevators smarter. Some of the topics has been discussed by my esteemed friend Rajesh. I would also like to build upon the same. Allow me some time to share my screen. One important thing which we from Schindler wanted to also share is it's a matter of pride for us when it comes to planning of the elevators. The Schindler's way of planning has been recognized by the ISO standards, and our planning is now a part of ISO standards, which is known as ISO 8100-32. So with this note, I begin my presentation. Just to give you a brief about Schindler, we elevate urban mobility. We are present in all the segments that is there. Just to tell you about the legacy of our organization, a 146-year-old brand from Switzerland with about 66,000 employees as of end of last month, with over 1,000 branches and presence spread across over 100 countries. With our last year turnover, just to give you a brief, we ended 2019 with a turnover of close to 12 billion Swiss francs. Moving on, these are our manufacturing facilities. We have close to 10 elevator factories, 6 escalator factories, 6 R&D centers, which are global R&D centers, and one being very much in our own country, which is in Pune. We have 7 Schindler digital business centers apart from these. Of course, we are into manufacturing of elevators, escalators, and moving walks. Some facts about Schindler India. Started our greenfield operations 22 years ago with a zero portfolio, I would say, and today we are extremely proud to say that last year end we completed, or we had close to 74,000 plus elevators and escalators which are in our service portfolio. We started with an employee strength somewhere around 15 years ago, I would say it was close to about 150. Today we have, to be precise, 4,600 people working for Schindler. We have operations across the country with close to 42 major cities and expanding, I would say. This is our campus, our very own Schindler factory, escalator and elevator factory that we have set up in Pune. You can see this is where our elevator factory is, and backside what you can see is our escalator factory. This is with our test tower, 70-meter tall test tower with 8 elevator shafts, I would say. Within this campus, we also have our global R&D center where we develop products not just for India, but also for the global customers. Very important thing to also say is within this campus, we have Schindler University. I would talk about Schindler University a little later, not in this forum, I would say, but this university is basically designed to have a centralized training modules, which is done from Pune, both technical and soft skills. Okay, with this, let me move to the subject that we are talking about it. I think when we are talking about artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, which for Schindler, we kind of call it as Internet of Elevators and Escalators. All of us will agree that globally, I think Internet has taken a precedence. Wherever we go, I think technology is moving so fast that everybody is dependent on Internet for doing their things, and it's helping a lot of service-based organizations. Now in Schindler, sometime during 2016, we also thought, why not integrate the elevator services with Internet of Things? We launched these services globally in 2016, and in India, we brought this around mid of 2018. And today, we are extremely happy and proud to say that we have connected huge number of elevators and escalators in the country, which is really supporting the customers. Now, how does this system work? Just to tell you, each of our elevators come with its own sensors all across fitted. We have a smart device called Schindler Cube, or we call it as Ahead Cube device, which gets fitted onto those elevators which are connected. Like we all know, each of these elevators, while they're working, they give a lot of error codes. They keep communicating with, I would say, Schindler server. When these error codes are being released, there are a lot of error codes which gets processed in the cloud-based platform, which you can see here. I'm sorry. All these errors which gets generated, this is, again, we use a very important software called Predix, which is basically from GE, General Electric. This dissects the error codes, and depending on which error will probably lead to a fatal error, as in the breakdown of an elevator, the message is immediately sent out to Schindler Operations Center, I would say Technical Operations Center, which is housed within our corporate office here in Mumbai. Now, when this is flashed onto the TOC, immediately a message is sent out to the service engineer along with the customer who have activated these services in their equipment. Now, how does it work? All this while elevators and escalators, we were talking about maintenance, which is more of preventive based maintenance, where the schedule is already given to the customer and each service engineer goes and attends to those services based on the schedule that is prepared. Maybe it could happen that the moment the servicing is done in a week from there, or maybe in few hours from then, some of the elevators or escalators may count off. Here with this technology, with the signals coming from the equipments, there is always a message that goes out to Schindler technicians saying that there is a possibility of this equipment getting conked, and hence you can go and attend to that. Here what we are moving is from preventive to a predictive based maintenance. Now, how does it help the customer? Very important is the customers will have an advantage of having uptime. I mean, today, if you look at it, when we are talking about high rises, you cannot afford to have elevators under breakdown today. So with this predictive based technology, we are able to have services offered in advance, I would say, or the breakdowns attended in advance, and ensure that the equipment does not break down. So this is how the whole platform works here. Very important thing what we also have is today when we are talking about how artificial intelligence or IoT is in a better position to help the customers. When we are talking about a high rise, we all are aware about situations related to entrapments. Nobody would want to be facing a situation where he or she is getting stuck in an elevator. It leads to a lot of claustrophobic feeling. What we can do is when we get stuck in an elevator, typically what happens is either I get into calling on the intercom, which is already there in the elevator car, or sometimes you press the alarm, which is provided in the COP, and wait for the security systems or the facility management team to come and attend. With this technology, a customer can also have a separate feature called tele alarm. This tele alarm basically is inbuilt within the Schindler car COP, where in case of an entrapment, when you have the alarms pressed, you have an option of either getting connected with the 24/7 Schindler call center, or the customer can decide to have the call connected with their in-house security or the facility management team. With this, exactly you will be in a position to inform instantly. And how does it help is when during these kind of an entrapment system, when Schindler engineers or the service engineers usually come for a 50-70 storied building, you will not be able to understand the positioning of the car. Typically, they try to ascertain where exactly is the car position, and then the service engineer will have to go and rescue. And imagine a flight where you have all these high rises coming up in the city, where the entry itself takes 10-15 minutes, security clearance, and then the confusion from the customer engineer or the service engineer in identifying the location. Here, what it does is the moment a customer presses the alarm, instantly the location is known to Schindler engineers that this particular building, the car is stuck at XYZ floors. Thereby, the rescue operations can happen at a much faster pace. This is how the technology is also able to help. Now, how does it help the customers? Today, like I said, we have a lot of data available at our end. A lot of our engineers, our technicians, our managers have data, but we are not able to do much with the data. Here, with this particular feature that is being offered, the data is captured in the cloud. And imagine the advantage, not only the data of our 75,000 plus portfolio here, we have access to the global data, access to the global algorithms, where each of the error codes that we have been seeing, the system is able to understand what could be the possible reasons of the breakdown, and we'll be able to offer better resolution times to the customer. Since we have all the data that we have collected, it is being put on to use with this technology that we are talking about it. So that's how the ahead-based solutions is always helpful for our customers. One, like I told you about the uptime. All customers today talk about better uptime. This is something which is able to offer highest uptime in the industry today. Number two, how it helps is insights. When we are talking about insights, the customer transparently is able to understand what exactly is happening with the elevator. He or she sitting in their office will come to know whether the elevator is running or it is under shutdown. You don't really have to depend on the elevator guys to call or their team members calling up and saying this particular equipment is not working right now. And this is how the transparency helps the customer. And of course, with this being there, the convenience also helps. Like I said, sitting in your office, you'll be able to understand many details, and you do not also need to depend on a large amount of team to be based at big project sites. I would say the data is available at the fingertips. You have an iPhone, you have an Android phone, you can have the apps downloaded on your phones and have the data available round the clock at your convenience. Now, going on to the next thing, everybody will accept here that when we are looking at elevators and escalators for our projects, we invest a huge amount of money, huge amount of capex that is going into buying of these. So we have a high resolution screen that is put on the door, and you can see here on my screen a kind of a projector that is put outside the elevator or at the elevator lobby. Through this, you could have your videos played, like I said, real-time basis. The entire control is going to be with the customer. He or she can decide which videos to play during which slot, and change it at their own will. The duration and the timing could entirely be at the customer's choice, and you could actually do that, which will always help in terms of having a revenue generation model, and you don't really have to worry about any other things like sticking or pasting of these stickers or something like that onto your elevator cars. Now this is about elevator doors, because like we said, most of the customers stand in front of the elevator, and we could use that as a point of weight. Typically in the marketing terminology, you could look at how you can use that to make your own advertising revenue being generated. The second important thing, like I said, typically when you enter into the car, this particular part, what you're able to see, this could again get converted into a smart mirror. It would be giving you a 3D kind of an image. It plays videos, it plays whatever you wish to play in terms of the videos, but at in a 3D phase. So this is how today we are able to see that the artificial intelligence and IoT is playing a big role in terms of moving away from what used to happen then and where we are moving right now.
Now in this panel discussion, we are going to understand why elevators are crucial element in the efficient operation of a high-rise building. So could I ask Mr. Rajesh Vasantbhai of Kone, India to share his inputs, that what he looks at?
Yeah, thank you, Shubhajit, once again.
Right.
First of all, I may like to make one statement. For high-rise building, elevators is a lifeline. There is no elevator, high-rise building cannot function. So it is such a crucial operation. It's the backbone of any high-rise building. Now, as if you see, I'll start with the urbanization rate of India. It's today 34%. And if you see all developed countries, they are at a range of 60 to 70%. In fact, in some cities like Singapore, they have reached almost 100% urbanization rate. So we have a lot of scope, and we would see that the cities are getting taller and taller. So there is no option but to opt for high-rise building, and hence there is no option for going in for high-rise elevator. So such is the importance, and that's how elevators are crucial for, I would say, not only commutation or transportation, life of high-rise building itself. And now looking into present challenges of pandemic. So safety, not only about physical safety, but health and well-being safety also becomes important, because elevator is the only way of commutation where complete incumbent of building travels. So it is very important, and there is a lot of scope in advancement of this crucial element of the building. And I'm sure with my colleagues on the board, we will invest a lot in technology and make it elevator safer, faster, and more comfortable for incumbents for high-rise buildings.
So Deepakji, do you agree with the same thing, and how architects are going to play a crucial role in kind of selecting the elevators which will be very optimized or very effective for a particular high-rise building?
Yeah, I think, right from the beginning, the architects are involved, right? Conceptual drawing onwards, we have to design the aspects of all elevators. I've been, insisting on traffic analysis and all those things. So which elevator has to be positioned where, the zoning, as I've been given different types of, the users of the elevators. So at that time itself, the the architect has to be knowledgeable enough which elevator company or what type of elevator or what type of suitable for the users. Example, a stretcher, lift for even a high rise is very important factor. A servant's elevator, a dump waiter elevator, a garbage lift elevator. As I've been telling you, parking. So a lot of these elevators are, touchwood, fortunately available in the market. So looking at that, we need to be very important in the beginning, conceptual design CD stage we call it. That time only an architect should be have a knowledgeable thought on this. So there it is very easy. Okay, on this lines we can take this elevator company. We can even bifurcate different companies into one large scale building. So we can look upon that.
So if I come back to Stephen, you were there for a long time actually. We could not come back to you. So what are the criteria one developer or an architect actually look at while selecting a particular range of elevator for a high-rise building, considering the heights?
Actually, it's a vertical transport. And what happens is, if you see a passengers, they have very less wait time when they travel in an elevator, and which changes when you move into the horizontal transport. So the few criteria what is selected, one is safe travel, efficient travel, and should be having less wait time and a comfort. Now there are various aspects and technology goes into the whole system. As Mehtaji said, it is the elevators which enable the high-rise buildings and grow the taller cities. So what we need to look into is the speed of the elevator, the capacity of the elevator, the safeties are inbuilt in many places, and what technology you're building into for the dispatch system. Like all of us, my colleagues, and I explained what are the new things are coming up and how you harness that along with the current data analytic and ensure there is a comfort given to the customers. At the same time, we also have a responsibility towards the environment to ensure these elevators are energy efficient. Like there was a comment made by Rajendra ji about what about giving back this power? Like if you see an elevator, at some times it becomes a motor, consumes energy, and sometimes it becomes a generator which can produce energy. Now we have a choice whether I want to dissipate that energy into heat and waste it, or I can reuse it. Today's technology is available, which is a constant in Otis products, which is available as regen drive, which can reuse it, and it helps in a carbon print everywhere. So some of the areas on the developer as well as architects has to look into. One is, which we call it a piston effect, where the elevators move up and down. If there is air can cause a resistance, which can also create certain vibration. Stacking effect is there, where the breeze can directly come to the entrance, which can be taken care of. As these are the few aspects, if it can be taken care while designing and constructing the building. And that's one of the reasons my colleagues and everybody spoke about joining as a team from the start of the planning stage and moving on as a team till we complete the project.
So is there any particular standards which regulate the selection of elevator for a particular building, considering the height again?
Yeah, there are some basic standards, but as we recommend always to hire a consultant who is really expert, in like you design a hotel, okay? There is a hotel consultant. He gives us the in-depth of the planning aspect, the kitchen, this same way there is available good elevator consultants. They help architects and the developers on giving all the required data, the type of elevators, the weight, as we all been talking about the wait time factor, then the zoning of the elevator, then the elevator for a particular floors only, like we have designed, a building in Mumbai where it's a commercial building. It has got 275 offices. If I count each office as minimum to minimum, say 25 people or 20 people walking, now you just count how many passenger will be traveling. So we need a passenger elevators of that type. Apart from that, we need other elevators supporting. Like when the interior works are going on, we need goods elevator separately, a zone separate. Then so lot of it is like a vertical city itself. The traffic of all has to be very well calculated. The wait time, the lobby waiting time is very important. We get always anxious, waiting into a lobby, where it is claustrophobic. So design of that lobby by an architect is very important. Okay, it is part of a supporting design to an elevators. We cannot take it architectural. Just there are people standing over there in a claustrophobic, lobby of say around 6 feet wide. So that will not solve. The good light and ventilation, air conditioning, a lot of aspects are connected along with the lift and elevator design. So this is just one of the examples, I'm sharing.
All of my esteemed panelists have spoken about how important the planning is when it comes to not just the high rise, but any type of a building that we are talking about it. Because like Rajesh rightly mentioned, elevators are definitely lifeline of a building, though the importance given probably is not the same right now in the industry today for an elevator, but then the kind of issues that the customer may face at a later date, when I say customer, the actual user, if you are not giving importance to the planning. Now, what you need to also be looking at is the type of the building, the population, the kind of office that you're going to look at it. In some of the cases, we have also seen where a building design was changed. When I say design, from an office building, they suddenly decided that, okay, at a particular floor, they will have an entertainment zone and a restaurant there. Let me tell you, it created a havoc in terms of the elevator planning because it was not planned for. And suddenly we used to see that at that particular floor, there was a lot of traffic that was being generated, thereby the wait times getting impacted heavily. So definitely, I think it is important that we need to look at planning, designing, and proper involvement of elevator companies at the time of design and planning is, I would say, important, because you need to be bearing with that elevator, you need to manage that kind of an elevator for the next 20 years. So in order to ensure that the end user does not get impacted, I would strongly recommend that yes, the customers, the architects, the design, they need to be involving elevator companies at the design stage.
So there's a question: how crucial are elevators when it comes to people rescue during fire or other emergency in high-rise building? And how much it will be effective since all elevators are intended to use during fire mode?
So definitely elevators are important when the fire takes place or broke out of the fire. So there has been in fire, when we say it is a fire elevator, there are various concepts. The first and basic concept is like the elevator which is supporting incumbents in the case of fire. In that case, what happens? All elevators in the fire mode comes on the ground floor, doors are opened, and we are not supposed to use. And only one elevator, which is called a fireman's elevator, is allowed for a usage of fire. So that is one elevator. But now standards are changing, and specifically in US, they have come with the technology, and against our normal wisdom of understanding, in case of fire, you should not use elevator. Now that the thought process is coming that even in case of fire, how elevators can be used, how elevators can be designed, used, and what should be the fire strategy. So this is what is coming now. So recommended for new standard is coming up. This is NBC 2016 National Building Code, and recommended building height more than 200 meter. So before even fire team arrives, this golden period, how can we utilize for evacuation? So, but this only elevator will not suffice this purpose. This has to be conceived, since Mr. Mehtaji is also on the call, when you design a building, because you have to design a shaft which is completely fire isolated, and there will be one elevator along with the staircase in that particular shaft. And then effective communication system, building management system also with our fire sensors to be provided. And this particularly ASME has already included, and in buildings in Chicago, specifically after 9/11, this particular elevator has come into work. And now in Mumbai and Thane, at least in India, two particular electricity authorities are trying to bring this specification, and we are in discussion with them. Still, there are many technical things to be sorted out, but this is the future on which how we can use an elevator in case of fire as well. But as I said, it requires the design of the elevators and complete fire evacuation strategy designed by architect and the developer together.
Just in case the car malfunctions and starts to fall, is there a system to arrest this fall and avoid a crash for the safety of the passengers? Raj?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Roy. So typically, if you look at it, I mean, all good manufacturers have all the safety features inbuilt in an elevator. Typically, there is, I would say, it's a myth, or we have not experienced a situation where branded or good elevators have a situation where it has a free fall. So the customer uses the terminology as free fall. It could be more of something related to an error. But just to answer your question, each of our elevators are also have fitted with something called as an overspeed governor, which starts activating in case if an elevator travels at a speed which is 30% over the rated contract speed. So if it is rated at 5 meters per second speed, and if it is traveling at a speed which is say more than 6.5 meters per second, it starts getting activated. So all good manufacturers, if I can say, they have something called as an overspeed governor, which comes inbuilt as a safety feature with their equipment.
Yeah, we always recommend, as now there are special lift designed, for the vertical movement of during the fire. So we try to design it a separate lobby altogether. There's a lift lobby on each floor, where the evacuation for in time of fire, this lift is to be used. Given that lobby is to be designed as a smoke-free, then the staircase attached to that has to be at least 4-hour fire retardant door, FRD door, we call it certified. So in case, there sometimes the staircases is not that easy to climb down or up due to some age-related problems or some kind of thing. So these lifts are very, very important for speedy movement of it. So it has to be designed in a building right in the beginning. We call it as a fire lift or fire lift with a particular smoke-free lobby, So it has to be done in that level.
There's a question for Stephen. I think if you can take it from Mr. Jayant Patwardhan. He's asking that how is the air circulation managed during high-speed operation, and is there any structural changes needs to be done?
Okay, with the high rise, the elevator speed also goes up, because that has to be with the norms of the code requirement and everything, because there's a fire code needs speed and everything defined. Now, as the speed goes up in the confined hoistway, the air can get trapped in either direction because the elevator travels up and down. And this can offer an resistance to the movement of the elevator, can cause a bit of a vibration while the elevator travel. Best way to do that is allow an escape for this air instead of trapping and offering the resistance. Many different ways are there. And one way to do is, as the speed increases, the gap required for the car as well as hoistway has to be proportionally increases. It's a direct proportionate. So approximately 150 to 200%, the gap, the ratio between the elevator travel car and the hoistway that need to be constructed. That's one of the reason all of my colleagues and everyone talking about planning stage and building the system. The another way is to have a common hoistway with the separator for the safety, which will ensure there is no air trapment in there. And if it's the fire elevator, to have air vent on the top and bottom with the fire protecting material. So these will take care, which we call it as a piston effect, and ensures the smooth ride.
So as far as we are in India is concerned, there is no degree course as such available by any university. But in some engineering institutes, this course has been taken as an optional course. And we are supporting one such university like Chitkara University in North, where we are ourselves conducting this session for the elevators mobility technology, so that when people are graduating out of college as engineers, it is definitely they have certain knowledge of this particular course. Apart from that, we are running in support with some institution sessions for technicians for upgrading their installation technology. These are the educational endeavors. And third, we and my colleagues, we are trying to get engaged with Mr. D'Souza must be aware, Mr. Sebi and my boss also, they have been jointly taking with government for skill development ministry for enhancing and getting collaborated, that they should give us a platform and we can do investment so that we can form a continuous pool of trained technicians and engineers available for our industry. But these are the some initiatives we are taking lead and pushing it. But straight answer to your question, degree course, it is definitely not available in India as of now.
One initiative that Schindler as an organization started doing many years ago is going to these ITI colleges. Typically, I mean, when you're looking at skill development of fitters, typically that's most important in our industry. So we started way back almost about 9 years ago, hiring people from the ITI colleges. And I spoke to you about Schindler University that is there here in Pune. Of course, that's a very new building, I would say about 5 years ago. But prior to that, we had our own training center. So the model was we used to go there, pick these guys from the colleges, the young guys, put them on a 2-year rigorous training and certification module so that they are prepared to handle execution of high-rise and large projects. And today we are proud to say 100% of Schindler's high-rise projects are managed by our in-house technicians, which means we don't kind of subcontract them.
Is there any alternative technology available at the moment to replace overspeed governor using electrical way of tripping safety gear instead of using rope?
We do have safety norms which we call it as the lift codes. In India, out of that, we have only 10 states which are really having a lift code. And these lift codes prescribes that we need to have a safety governor. But the safety governor works into two ways. One is electrical as well as mechanical. As Raj explained earlier, that people have that phobia of elevator falling. That is actually not possible, because one of the reasons is when the elevator, for any reason, if it increases 115% of the contract speed, the electrical tripping will take place and the machine brake applies, with stopping the elevator and no more movement. But in case there's any other eventuality, and if the speed increases further, maybe for 140%, then bottom of the car where the elevator travel, there are mechanical safety gears which have been fixed, which it activates and stops the elevator, and it cannot be our experts has to come, then only they can take them out. Now, these all safety are inbuilt to protect the passengers. And as of today, there are certain concepts of rope grabbers which are also used. But safety governor to govern the speed, independent of the rope, is must, not just relying on the basic thing. And those are also required for the code. And that's what we all follow, all the OEMs.
This is what particularly what happens, this particular phenomena of piston effect, what Stephen has already explained, happens after 3 meters per second speed of the elevators, and where shaft is a single shaft. But in most of the high-rise building now, it is a common shaft for 3-4 elevators, which Stephen has explained, then this phenomena will not occur. So as he suggested, so this piston effect happens pictorially. You can see this red is hot air gets sucked up, and then lot of noise, and it impairs ride comfort. So what the way is, one way can be, and we have used this with many architects, you can have such a periodic opening after 12.3 meters. If it is a single shaft and you do not have common shaft. So apart from the keeping distance from elevator to the elevator shaft, what Stephen has explained, we can have these pockets, but those pockets need to be made fireproof as per new norms. So they are not open pockets. So those pockets which has to be made with diaphragm fireproofs. But these pockets will help in venting out that air, and it will have a drastic improvement in your ride comfort. And this we have applied in many buildings in Mumbai wherever we are installing elevators. So I thought I'll share with you this finding. But this is my request to all architect fraternity. It is very difficult. One shaft is constructed to do this. So any elevator which is about 3 meters per second, then you have single shaft. You have to contemplate this in design itself, be it any manufacturer, but you have to take his advice and then go ahead in a collaborative approach so that the problems are avoided in the future.
How speech recognition and natural language processing technology can be used for informing people inside the elevator for handling seismic zones. It's very important. I think Architect Deepak Vajji also will agree. Raj, you spoke about many smart and intelligent technologies. Would you like to address this?
Typically, I can only say that during such situations, similar to a fire related thing, seismic switches get activated and then the elevator comes to the lowest floor. I mean, that's the only thing that we can at this particular point of time say. I would not be able to right now answer if there are any ways of informing to the passengers inside. I don't know if Rajesh or Stephen would want to answer that, but
I can answer if
Right.
Vajji's permission.
Yes, Stephen.
please.
Okay, seismic sensor is a zone, the zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, based on that. It's a requirement to have a building which is meeting those requirements of seismic system. And for elevator, we also have this concept. We have a seismic sensor which is located in the elevator. Probably we keep it in the machine room. And when you have a primary wave and the secondary wave. We take the primary wave and a certain Richter scale, automatically the system moves the elevator to the nearest landing where it is traveling, opens the door and goes off. Now, once that is shut down, the passengers can come out. Now, all of us, every elevator company has a voice announcing. They can have music and the floor which is announced. In that same announcement system, we add saying that seismic system is progress, please vacate the elevator. That's how the major zone danger which comes in seismic system is the counterweight and car colliding together. So we have to ensure it is kept apart. So elevator stops immediately and the announcement can take place and people can exit safely out.
So with that, we'd like to thank our panelists for exchanging their valuable inputs or valuable thoughts on today's topic, high-rise elevators. Delegates, we hope you have enjoyed the session. Before wrapping up today's session, we'd like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Stephen D'Souza, Mr. Rajesh Vasantbhai, Mr. Raj Iyer, Architect Rajendra Kumar, and Architect Deepak Mehta. I would also like to thank my editor, Mr. Prasad Nair, for taking this initiative. So with this, we would like to announce closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Wish you all a very happy Navratri and Durga Puja. Thank you and goodbye.